So, you felt it, didn't you? That strange pressure in the air, that little whisper in your gut telling you something was off. And you tried to ignore it, tried to laugh it away, tried to pretend life was moving normally. But it wasn't. Because while you were busy minding your own steps, they were busy whispering your name behind closed doors. A secret meeting, all about you. Funny, isn't it? You think you're ordinary, unnoticed, harmless even. But people don't gather in shadows for someone who doesn't matter. They don't whisper, plot, observe, unless your existence shakes something in them. You ever notice how people only gather in secret when something about you makes them nervous? It's almost poetic, really. Nobody holds a quiet meeting about someone they think is irrelevant. Nobody whispers in shadows, huddled together with nervous energy, unless something about your existence shakes the ground beneath them. And here's the delicious irony: you probably didn't even know you were causing the tremors. You were living your life, taking your steps, chasing your goals, building your vision quietly, and suddenly your presence became a problem. To them, your progress isn't just impressive, it's threatening. It unsettles the comfort they've built around themselves, the false sense of control they cling to, the belief that everything is predictable and orderly. And now, because of you, they feel exposed, vulnerable, like someone flipped a light switch in a dark room they thought was safe. They meet in secret because fear is contagious, but courage is not. They can whisper and strategize all they want, but they can't replicate the fire you carry inside you. Their meeting isn't a plan against you, it's a confession. Every hushed conversation, every nervous glance, every conspiratorial glance toward your name on their lips is proof that you exist in a way they can't ignore. And that's the funny part. You didn't even ask for this attention. You didn't crave it. You didn't need to fight for it. You just moved forward, and their fear made them act. Think about the psychology behind it. People fear what they can't control, what they don't understand, and what they see growing faster than they expected. And the moment you begin leveling up, that's exactly what you become. Unpredictable, powerful, alive. You are no longer a passive participant in the story they feel compelled to react. Their secret meeting, their whispering strategy, their clandestine discussions are all reactions to your energy, your ambition, your presence. It's a reflection of their insecurity more than it is a reflection of you. They're trying to figure out how to manipulate reality to match their comfort. But the reality is you've already moved past the boundaries they thought existed. And here's the kicker: they don't see it as admiration. But that's exactly what it is. They fear what they secretly admire. Every strategy they plot in shadowy rooms is a distorted mirror of the respect they feel for your power. They wouldn't invest that much mental energy into someone they didn't think was capable of something extraordinary. Every note taken, every cautious exchange, every concerned glance toward your progress is a silent acknowledgement. You matter. You matter more than they can admit. And that matters even more than their fear. While they sit, whispering, worrying, scheming, you keep moving. And movement terrifies them because it reminds them of their own stagnation. You've become a problem not because of what you're doing to them, but because of what you're doing to yourself. You're leveling up, expanding, asserting your presence, claiming your destiny, and all of that energy resonates outward. People notice it in subtle ways. Maybe they can't articulate it. Maybe they try to rationalize it, but they feel it. And when people feel things they cannot control, they meet secretly, they strategize, they fear, they plot. But here's the beauty: secrecy does not equal power. Hushed meetings do not create destiny. Whispered fears cannot cage someone who has already discovered their strength. You can't be outmaneuvered when you operate in clarity, when your energy is focused, when your steps are deliberate. They might think that plotting in shadows gives them an advantage, but the light of your purpose shines through before any plan can reach you. They underestimate how unstoppable someone becomes when they refuse to bow to invisible fears, when they refuse to shrink in response to someone else's discomfort, when they refuse to let whispers dictate their path. So let them meet, let them whisper, let them pour over your name like a puzzle they can't solve. Because every secret gathering, every hushed tone, every careful eye directed at you is a testament to your presence, your power, your rising. You are the storm in their calm, the ripple in their pond, the shadow they cannot contain. And while they're busy strategizing, you're building, growing, moving forward, untouchable, unstoppable, unbothered. Every whispered conversation about you is proof of your influence, proof that your energy matters, proof that you're alive in a way they can't control, proof that they're already too late to stop what's coming. People hold secret meetings about you because you are bigger than they imagined. It's funny, isn't it? How someone else's fear can become a full-blown operation in the shadows, all because of the energy you carry. You didn't ask for this attention. You didn't send out an invitation. But your presence alone was enough to make them feel threatened. And that's the irony of it. They're so busy plotting against you, trying to strategize, trying to contain what they can't understand, that they don't even realize how much power they're giving you. Every whisper, every glance, every careful consideration they give your name is a silent acknowledgement. You are relevant. You exist in a way they can't ignore. Think about it. Why would anyone waste energy on someone who didn't matter? Why would they sit together behind closed doors, whispering, plotting, discussing, if you weren't making waves in their comfortable little pond? You see, their secret meetings aren't a measure of your weakness. They are a reflection of their own insecurity. They feel the tremors your ambition is causing, the ripple effect of your growth, and their fear triggers a need to strategize. They cannot allow uncertainty, even if it's your success, to exist unchecked. And so, they meet in shadows, trying to wrestle control over a reality that is already moving past them. It's almost poetic. The very things they whisper in private are evidence of your impact. You have become a variable they cannot predict, a force they cannot measure, a presence that disrupts their fragile illusions of control. And while they are calculating, you continue to move forward, unaware of the silent storm you have stirred. You continue to build, to grow, to step into spaces they assumed they could dominate. Your life, your actions, your evolution become the catalyst for their whispered conversations, their furtive exchanges, their attempts to understand how someone so unassuming on the surface could be so dangerous to their complacency. They meet because they are afraid of change, afraid of unpredictability, afraid of someone who refuses to fit into the small box they've built for the world. And in their fear, they reveal more about themselves than they ever could about you. Every note taken, every cautionary suggestion, every hesitant glance in your direction shows that you exist on a level they cannot yet reach. They cannot comprehend the momentum you've gathered, the confidence you radiate, the purpose that drives you. And so, they gather to make sense of something they cannot control, hoping that in numbers, in secrecy, they might find a way to protect their fragile equilibrium. Meanwhile, you continue to ascend. Every step you take, every goal you reach, every action you commit to your vision only amplifies their whispered fear. Their secrecy cannot touch you, cannot slow you down, cannot bend your path. They might hope that plotting in silence will give them leverage, but leverage belongs to those who act, to those who show up, to those who refuse to hide. Your forward motion is unstoppable because it is authentic, deliberate, and unbound by the shallow calculations of those too timid to meet the world face to face. And here's the irony: they try to manipulate reality in secret, thinking that hidden schemes give them control, thinking that private strategies can outmaneuver someone who refuses to bow to fear. But control is an illusion, and secrecy is a trap. You cannot be contained by whispered discussions or nervous plotting. The power they try to hold over you only illuminates your influence, only marks the territory of your presence in ways they will never fully comprehend. They cannot undo what you are becoming, cannot rewind the energy you have generated, cannot erase the impact of your existence. So let them hold their meetings. Let them whisper your name in fear, speculation, and uncertainty. Every secret gathering is a confirmation of your relevance, a tribute to the momentum you have built, a reflection of your unstoppable presence. And while they scheme in shadows, you move forward in the light, untouchable, unshaken, inevitable. Their hidden discussions prove only one thing: that you are alive, that you matter, that you have become a force they cannot contain, a presence they cannot diminish, a reality they cannot control. They held a secret meeting about you because, whether they admit it or not, you exist on a level that makes them uncomfortable. It's strange, isn't it? How someone can be quietly living their life, quietly building, quietly rising, and suddenly your very presence becomes a problem for people who thought the world revolved around their comfort. They don't even know what to do with you. They can't measure you, can't control you, can't predict you. And when the unpredictable shows up in their neat little plans, panic sets in. So they meet in secrecy, trying to stitch together a sense of order from chaos that doesn't exist because you, unknowingly, have already shifted the energy around you. Secret meetings are born out of fear, and fear is contagious. They whisper about what you might do, how you might grow, where you might go. But they forget that whispering doesn't stop destiny. Every word they exchange about you is evidence of your presence, your momentum, the way you are already influencing the world. They meet to strategize, to plot, to control the uncontrollable. Yet all they do is reveal how much space you occupy in their consciousness. The very act of fearing you elevates you. The very act of discussing you in shadows proves that your energy is real, tangible, undeniable. They see what you're capable of, even if they try to deny it to themselves. They notice your ambition, your progress, your quiet confidence that doesn't scream but echoes anyway. And that scares them, because they have lived their lives under the illusion of predictability. They've surrounded themselves with rules, walls, and whispers of control, and suddenly your movement disrupts it all. So they gather, they strategize, they calculate, they analyze, and all of it is a reflection of your impact rather than any weakness on your part. You see, people only act in secrecy when they feel their own fragility exposed. They fear your rise because it illuminates their stagnation. Every small victory you achieve, every confident step you take, every door you walk through that they assumed was closed for good, heightens their anxiety. They feel cornered by someone who refuses to stay small, someone who refuses to bend, someone who refuses to let them dictate the pace of the world. And so they meet in hushed tones, hoping their private deliberations will somehow level the field, hoping their whispering can reach where their hands cannot, hoping that by hiding they might regain control they have already lost. But here's the truth: they cannot stop you. Meetings in secret, Whispered strategies, furtive glances, all of it is powerless against someone who refuses to be contained. Your focus, your clarity, your forward motion are immune to their schemes. While they gather in fear, you act in reality. While they calculate endlessly, you build effortlessly. While they whisper in shadows, you shine in the light. And every meeting they hold only highlights your influence, your relevance, your unstoppable presence. Their attempts at control are ultimately a tribute to your power. They cannot admit it. They cannot face it openly. But the fact that they've taken time to meet about you proves something undeniable. You are important. You are moving. You are shifting energy in ways they cannot contain. And every plan they concoct, every cautious word spoken behind closed doors, every nervous exchange about your name, reinforces a simple truth: you are no longer someone they can ignore. You exist. You matter. You are alive in ways that demand acknowledgement, even if it comes wrapped in secrecy and fear. So let them meet. Let them whisper. Let them strategize in their hidden rooms. Because every secret discussion about you is proof of your momentum, proof of your presence, proof that the world is already reacting to your rise, whether they like it or not. And while they are trapped in their fear, you move freely, untouchable, unstoppable, inevitable, and impossible to contain. They held a secret meeting about you because the energy you carry cannot be ignored. It's fascinating how some people think hiding in shadows gives them power, that whispering in closed rooms can change reality. They meet because your presence rattles the fragile comfort they cling to, because your progress highlights their stagnation, because your movement is proof that life doesn't need their permission to happen. And while they strategize, you keep existing in a way they cannot touch, a way they cannot predict, a way they cannot control. That is what terrifies them the most, not your words, not your actions, not even your intentions, but the fact that you simply are, and your existence threatens the neat little order they've constructed around themselves. Secret meetings are born out of fear, and fear is the purest form of attention. They cannot confront what they feel openly, so they retreat to whispers, to hushed tones, to closed doors, hoping the walls will contain the power that they cannot control. Every whispered speculation about you, every plan hatched to manage you, every cautious exchange of glances across the table is proof that you are operating on a frequency they cannot reach. They are trying to manipulate something untouchable. And that's the beauty of it. They are giving you importance simply by attempting to diminish it. You have to understand the psychology behind it. People fear what they cannot predict, and you have become unpredictable. You have begun moving in ways that don't fit their limited framework of the world. You've begun to grow faster than they thought possible. You've begun to shine brighter than they dared to imagine. And all of this makes them uneasy. Their meetings are not about strategy, they are about reassurance, about trying to convince themselves that you can be controlled, contained, or diminished. But no amount of secrecy can alter the fact that you exist in a way that they cannot manage. Think about the irony. The very attention they give you in fear is proof of your power. Every note taken, every plan drafted, every cautious conversation is a tribute to your influence. They cannot admit it, they cannot face it, but they have acknowledged something undeniable. You matter. You are significant. You are alive in ways that challenge their assumptions and disturb their equilibrium. Their fear is only a mirror reflecting your unstoppable momentum, your presence, your ability to disrupt the comfortable illusions they've built around themselves. And while they are trapped in planning, in scheming, in fearing the unknown, you are moving, you are building, creating, stepping forward. Every step you take, every decision you make, every action you commit to your purpose widens the gap between who they are and who you are becoming. Their meetings cannot slow you, cannot contain you, cannot erase the momentum you have built simply by being unapologetically alive. They may try to manipulate outcomes, predict your next move, or undermine your influence, but the truth is, your energy is beyond their grasp. The secret meetings are also a lesson for you. They show you the weight of your presence, the impact you have on others, the way your life ripples through spaces they thought were immune to disruption. Their whispers are the acknowledgement of your influence, the testament of your potential, the evidence that you are operating in a sphere that demands attention, even if it comes clothed in fear. You are not being targeted because you are weak. You are being noticed because you are powerful. You must embrace that. Understand that every plan they hatch, every nervous glance they share, every word spoken about you in secrecy, only proves your significance. While they are strategizing in fear, you continue to move with clarity and purpose. You are not bound by their whispers or their anxiety. Your forward motion, your presence, your life speaks louder than any closed-door meeting could ever hope to. They are shadows, fleeting, reactive, powerless to alter the trajectory of someone who has already decided to rise, and rise unapologetically. So let them meet, let them whisper, let them sit in their secret rooms, trying to find ways to slow a force they cannot touch. Every hushed conversation, every cautious word, every furtive glance about you only amplifies one undeniable truth. You exist, you matter, and your energy is impossible to contain, untouchable, unstoppable, and inevitable. They held a secret meeting about you because your existence cannot be ignored. Isn't it strange how some people think they can contain what they don't understand? How they believe that huddling in closed rooms, whispering in careful tones, plotting and analyzing, can somehow influence the unstoppable force that is you, simply by thinking hard enough. They meet in secrecy because fear always seeks concealment. Fear doesn't like exposure, doesn't like transparency, doesn't like confronting power directly. And your presence, your movement, your energy, quiet, deliberate, undeniable, is the exact opposite of concealment. It exposes them, makes them uneasy, forces them to recognize that you are operating on a level they cannot reach, a frequency they cannot measure, a momentum they cannot control. The fascinating part is that these secret meetings are never about you in reality. They are about their insecurity, their discomfort, their fragile illusions of control. You don't even have to lift a finger. Your mere existence, your growing confidence, your relentless pursuit of your path triggers something in them that their rational minds cannot process. They meet to strategize, to manage, to regain some illusion of dominance. But all they do is highlight your influence. Every whispered word, every careful observation, every calculated plan is a mirror reflecting the undeniable truth. You matter, and your presence cannot be ignored. Think about it for a moment. Why does anyone spend energy on someone irrelevant? Why do they gather in hushed tones, exchange glances, scribble notes, and whisper your name if you didn't already exist as a problem they cannot solve? They are trying to rationalize what they fear. They are trying to assert some control over chaos that is bigger than them. And the irony is delicious. They cannot control it, cannot predict it, cannot contain it. Every plan they create, every strategy they draft, every discussion held in secrecy is powerless against the force that is already moving forward without hesitation, without apology, without doubt. Their meetings reveal more about themselves than they ever could about you. They are afraid of disruption, afraid of unpredictability, afraid of someone who refuses to be contained. And in that fear, they acknowledge something they would never say aloud. You are significant. They notice your ambition, your progress, your quiet energy that cannot be hidden. They fear the disruption you bring because it exposes the stagnation they've accepted, the compromises they've tolerated, the smallness they've settled for. Their fear is a silent tribute to your power, an unspoken recognition that you are alive in ways they are not. Meanwhile, you continue to move forward. Every action you take, every decision you make, every step you take in the direction of your purpose widens the gap between you and those who try to strategize in secret. They may hope that whispered plans and furtive discussions will slow you down, but momentum cannot be stopped by shadows. Energy cannot be contained by fear, and influence cannot be denied when it is grounded in authenticity, in clarity, in determination. The secret meeting is also a message, if you choose to see it. It's proof of your significance, of the ripples you are creating, of the impact your presence has on the world around you. They are giving you attention they cannot control, time they cannot reclaim, mental energy they cannot redirect. And all of this, paradoxically, empowers you. The more they gather, whisper, and plan, the more evidence accumulates that you are a force that cannot be ignored, a presence that commands acknowledgement even when it is cloaked in fear. You must understand that secrecy is not power. Whispering is not strength. Fear is never strategy. You, moving forward, acting with intention, living with clarity, operating with purpose, are more powerful than anything plotted behind closed doors. While they are trying to bend reality to their comfort, you are reshaping reality with your presence. Their secret meetings are irrelevant against someone who refuses to shrink, who refuses to hide, who refuses to let whispers dictate the trajectory of their life. So let them meet, let them whisper, let them plan. Every secret discussion, every careful glance, every hushed word about you only reinforces one undeniable truth. You exist, you matter, your presence is felt, your energy cannot be contained, your momentum is unstoppable, and your influence is inevitable. They held a secret meeting about you because your presence has become unavoidable. Isn't it curious how people think that whispering behind closed doors, huddled together with cautious glances, can somehow influence someone who has already moved beyond their comprehension? Fear drives them to secrecy, and secrecy gives birth to strategies that are more about their fragility than about your existence. They meet because the energy you carry, the momentum you generate, the simple act of being alive and moving forward unsettles them. They cannot stop what they cannot control, and that is exactly what terrifies them. Your life, your growth, your clarity, these things are foreign to them, unpredictable, untouchable, and every secret gathering is their desperate attempt to make sense of what they cannot contain. The truth is, secret meetings reveal far more about those holding them than they do about the target of their fear. Every whispered conversation, every cautious exchange, every glance aimed in your direction is proof that you have already become significant. They try to strategize in shadows, hoping to regain control, to influence outcomes, to adjust reality to fit their fragile comfort. But all they do is highlight your power. The more they talk, the more evidence accumulates that you matter, that your energy cannot be ignored, that your movement cannot be stopped. Their secrecy is an unintentional tribute to your influence, a hidden acknowledgement that you exist on a level they cannot reach. Consider why anyone would invest time, energy, and mental effort into someone irrelevant. Why would they gather behind closed doors to whisper and plot if you didn't already make waves? Their secrecy is rooted in fear, fear of unpredictability, fear of disruption, fear of someone whose presence challenges the stagnation they've settled into. They recognize, even if subconsciously, that your growth exposes the gaps in their own lives, the compromises they've accepted, the complacency they've allowed. And because they cannot confront it openly, they retreat into shadows, hoping their whispers will somehow alter a reality that has already begun to shift in your favor. Every secret meeting, every hushed word, every note taken about you is proof that you have become a force that cannot be ignored. Their fear gives you weight. Their plotting gives you relevance. Their concern validates your existence. They do not realize that while they sit, strategizing and fearing, you are moving, you act, you build, you advance. You step into rooms, take opportunities, and carry energy that cannot be diminished by hidden conversations. Momentum cannot be stopped by whispers. Influence cannot be hindered by secret agendas. And power, the kind that comes from clarity and authenticity, cannot be contained by anxiety. Their attempts at control, their desire to manipulate outcomes, are ultimately futile because they underestimate one critical thing: the truth of your presence. You are not reactive. You do not shrink in response to fear. You do not allow whispers to dictate your movement. Every secret conversation about you simply illuminates your significance, and every plot hatched in darkness is a testament to your impact. They measure you not by what you do for them, but by what you make them feel, the undeniable awareness that someone exists beyond their control, someone whose life forces recognition, whether they like it or not. While they are trapped in their shadowed rooms, trying to wrest some sense of order, you operate in the light of your own energy. Every decision you make, every step you take, every action committed to your purpose widens the gap between their fear and your reality. They may attempt to strategize, but strategy cannot outpace authenticity. They may whisper, but whispers cannot alter momentum. They may plot, but plotting is powerless against someone who refuses to be contained. Your presence, your clarity, your focus, your unstoppable drive, these are forces they cannot influence, cannot diminish, cannot undo. So let them hold their meetings. Let them whisper. Let them plan. Let them sit in secret rooms, trying to create leverage where none exists. Every secret discussion about you is proof that your life matters, that your energy is impactful, that your presence cannot be ignored, that your influence is inevitable, that your momentum is unstoppable, that your reality is untouchable, and that you are moving in a direction that they can never contain, never control, and never predict. You ever notice how life loves to play these little tricks on people? One moment you're staring at a dead end, thinking the walls are closing in, thinking you've run out of chances, and then, out of nowhere, a door appears where there wasn't even a wall before. That's the thing about opportunities: they don't arrive politely. They don't knock. They don't send invitations. They sneak up on you in the strangest places, at the strangest times, wrapped in situations you'd never expect. And the funniest part? Your next job, your next breakthrough, your next big step, it's probably hiding in a place you've never even bothered to look. People spend their whole lives trying to plan their future like it's a neat little puzzle they can solve with a straight face and steady hands. They think if they follow the steps, tick the boxes, listen to the experts, their path will unfold perfectly, predictably, politely. But life doesn't care about your plans. Life is messy, chaotic, hilarious in the most inconvenient ways. And the biggest breakthroughs, they never come from those neat, predictable paths people cling to. No, the biggest shifts happen in the unexpected corners, the forgotten alleys, the places you avoid because they don't look like opportunity at first glance. That's the trick. The path that looks wrong, uncomfortable, strange, that's usually the one that changes everything. People get obsessed with what seems safe. They chase the same doors everyone else is chasing, knock on the same walls, follow the same tired trail because it feels familiar. And familiarity is comforting, even when it's killing their potential. They don't realize the universe likes to rewrite the script mid-scene. It likes to take your expectations, crumble them up like a cheap paper prop, and toss them out the window. Because breakthroughs don't happen in safety. They happen in confusion, in surprise, in those moments when you're forced to step somewhere you never expected to stand. Have you noticed how the path you thought you were meant for never quite behaves? It bends, it twists, it cracks open just when you think you've mastered it. And all the while, there's another path forming quietly on the side, a path you didn't choose, didn't even see, because you were too focused on the predictable one. Life hides opportunities in chaos. It places them behind doors that look too old, too strange, too impossible. But that's exactly why they're powerful, because most people won't dare to open them. Most people are too scared of the unknown, too stuck in their routine, too convinced that the expected path is the only one that matters. When everything falls apart, when the job ends, the opportunity dries up, the future suddenly looks foggy, people panic. They think the world is punishing them. They think they've failed. They think the story is over. But maybe it's the start. Maybe the ground had to break so you'd stop walking the wrong way. Maybe the lights went out so you'd see the small door glowing in the corner. Maybe the universe had to throw you off balance so you'd stumble into the direction you were actually meant to go. Breakthroughs don't announce themselves. They don't come wrapped in comfort or stability. They come disguised as loss, as rejection, as endings. Think about it. The biggest moments of change in people's lives rarely come from what they planned. They come from accidents, chance encounters, unexpected twists, a conversation with someone you almost didn't meet, a job offer from a place you never applied to, a skill you never intended to learn, a door that opens after another slammed in your face. That's the funny part. People cry over the closed door while the unlocked one behind them waits patiently. Life loves irony like that. And the truth is, you don't know what's waiting. You don't know where your next step will lead. But that's the beauty. The uncertainty forces you to grow, forces you to adapt, forces you to become someone capable of handling something bigger than what you expected. The predictable path might feel safe, but it won't transform you. The unexpected one will. It will stretch you, challenge you, confuse you, break you a little. But it will lead you somewhere you couldn't even imagine when you were clinging to your old plans. The biggest breakthroughs are hidden in moments that don't feel like breakthroughs at all. They feel like detours, like mistakes, like disappointments. But every detour has direction. Every setback has intention. Every unexpected path has a destination you wouldn't have reached if life had let you stay comfortable. That's the secret people miss. The universe doesn't block your path to punish you. It redirects you to places where your potential isn't just useful, it's undeniable. So if your path suddenly looks unfamiliar, if life pushes you somewhere strange, if the road twists in ways you never planned, maybe that's where the breakthrough is hiding. Maybe the unexpected path is the one that was meant for you all along. People get so attached to the idea of control. They want every step to make sense, every move to fit neatly into their little timeline. They want to know exactly when, where, and how things will unfold. And when life refuses to give them that certainty, they panic, they pull back, they assume something is wrong. But what if the real problem isn't the uncertainty? What if the real problem is their obsession with predictability? Because the world isn't built on straight lines. It's built on twists, surprises, strange turns that no one sees coming. And the funniest part is, those twists usually carry the very thing people are looking for. People think opportunity announces itself loudly, wearing a shiny name tag and waving from across the room. But no, opportunity creeps in quietly. It hides in shadows, in unexpected faces, in strange places people overlook because they don't match the picture in their head. That's how life works. It delivers blessings in disguises so convincing that most people walk right past them. They're too busy searching for what they think their future should look like. They forget that life doesn't follow their imagination. Life prefers irony. It prefers shock. It prefers to hand you something extraordinary in a package you would have sworn wasn't for you. Look at how people chase jobs. They stick to the industries they were told are right, the roles they were trained for, the titles they think make them look important. They don't realize the next chapter might come from a place they never even glanced at, a field they never studied, a city they never planned to visit, a company they didn't even know existed last week. That's what makes life so brilliantly unpredictable. The next job doesn't need your permission to appear. It doesn't need your preparation. Sometimes all it needs is for you to let go of the picture you've been clinging to so tightly. Because when your hands are full of expectations, you can't catch anything new. People think a closed door means defeat. But sometimes a closed door is the only way life can get you moving toward the one that's actually meant for you. That's the hilarious twist. One rejection can reroute your entire destiny. One unexpected layoff can push you into the one place your talent finally shines. One moment of uncertainty can position you right where you were supposed to be all along. But most people don't see it that way. They get stuck in the disappointment. They drown in frustration. They forget to look around and notice the strange, almost suspicious timing of what's happening. And timing is the most interesting part. Because life never moves too early or too late. It moves exactly when it knows you're most likely to ignore it. It loves to slip opportunity into the cracks right after you've given up on your plans. Right when you're tired of waiting. Right when everything looks still. That's when life likes to strike. When you least expect it. When your guard is down, when your old expectations finally loosen their grip. Because that's the moment you're willing to see something different, something unusual, something that wasn't part of the blueprint you drew in your mind. Most people are terrified of stepping into the unknown. They would rather stay stuck in something that drains them than risk stepping into something unfamiliar that might just elevate them. They fear being unprepared, fear not fitting in, fear starting from scratch. But that fear blinds them to the fact that the unknown is where all the magic hides. The predictable is comfortable, but it's dead. The unexpected feels dangerous, but it's alive. It's full of potential, full of possibility, full of strange little clues pointing you toward the place you're meant to be if you just gather the courage to follow them. And the world has a funny way of rewarding those who do. Those who stop forcing things. Those who stop clinging to a single version of the future. Those who allow themselves to step into unfamiliar territory even if it feels a little absurd at first. Because life doesn't care about what feels logical. It cares about what actually aligns with you, what challenges you, What stretches you into someone capable of more than the limited role you were trying to squeeze into before? The next job might not look like the dream you imagined, but it might be the opportunity that wakes up parts of you didn't know existed. People forget that growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the odd, unexpected, awkward spaces where you must adapt, learn, and rebuild. And that's exactly where the next opportunity tends to hide. In the places you ignored, in the directions you avoided, in the possibilities you didn't think were meant for you. Because life is always one step ahead, placing pieces quietly, waiting for the moment you finally stop resisting and notice the strange little opening that's been there the whole time. People walk around acting like they know exactly what they deserve. They convince themselves they're only qualified for certain things, only worthy of certain roles, only capable of what they've already done. They trap themselves in tiny boxes built from old stories, old mistakes, old disappointments. And then they wonder why nothing changes. They never stop to realize that the world is much bigger than their beliefs. That life has this wicked habit of offering you more the moment you stop assuming you deserve less. But most people never dare to think that way. They cling to their limitations like a blanket, even when it suffocates them. It's strange how people underestimate themselves without even noticing. They tell themselves, "I'm not skilled enough, I'm not educated enough, I'm not experienced enough." And they worship these excuses as if they're absolute truth. They forget something very important. Opportunities don't always choose the most perfect person. They choose the person who's willing, the person who's ready to grow, the person who's bold enough to step into a role that scares them. But fear is loud. It crawls into people's ears and whispers all the reasons they shouldn't try. So they stay where they are, convinced that anything bigger, anything better, anything more challenging simply isn't meant for them. People don't realize that the world doesn't just reward talent. It rewards courage. The courage to apply for something you think is out of your league. The courage to say yes to something that stretches you. The courage to step into rooms you don't feel qualified for yet. Because that's another thing people forget. You grow into your opportunities. You don't walk into them fully polished, fully prepared, fully perfect. You step in raw, nervous, uncertain, and that discomfort becomes the sharpened edge that carves you into who you're supposed to be. But instead of embracing that discomfort, people run from it. They think the next job must look like their past jobs. They think their future is limited to what they've already done. They underestimate their adaptability, their instincts, their hidden strengths. Life has a way of exposing abilities you didn't even know you had. A role might pull out leadership you never exercised. A challenge might reveal creativity you never explored. A new environment might unlock confidence you didn't know lived inside you. But you'll never see any of that if you keep lowering yourself to the level of your fears. What's amusing is how people become experts at predicting their own failure, even when they've never tested themselves. They imagine the worst outcomes, fantasize about every possible mistake, every criticism, every embarrassment. They create these little horror movies in their heads and then wonder why they're too paralyzed to move. But here's the joke. None of those imagined disasters are real. Not one. They're shadows on the wall, nothing more. And yet people give them power, as if those shadows determine their future. They don't realize that success often belongs to the one who steps forward while everyone else hides behind their imaginary fears. There's a moment quiet, subtle, where a person finally realizes they've been underestimating themselves. It usually happens after something unexpected forces them into a new situation. A shift in life, a rejection, a sudden ending. And once they step into that unfamiliar role, once they navigate those new responsibilities, They look back and laugh at how small they used to think. They realize their limits were never real. They were self-made, self-fed, self-sustained illusions. And the world was always waiting for them to outgrow them. Life doesn't underestimate you. You underestimate yourself. Life keeps creating openings, possibilities, cracks in the routine where new potential can slip through. But you have to be willing to see it. You have to be willing to entertain the idea that you're capable of more than your past suggests. The next job, the next break, the next elevation, it won't always look like something you expected. Sometimes it'll feel too big, too advanced, too different from anything you've ever done. And that feeling is exactly the sign that it might be right for you. People forget that confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build by stepping into what scares you. You don't qualify for the opportunity first. You accept it first, and then you rise to meet it. Maybe the next job isn't just a job. Maybe it's the place where the version of you that you haven't met yet finally comes alive. People cling to the familiar like it's a lifeline. They hold on to routines, workplaces, titles, even when those things drain them, shrink them, dull them. They convince themselves that stability is the same as safety, and safety is the same as success. But there's a strange little twist life likes to throw in sometimes. The thing you're holding on to the tightest is the very thing preventing your rise. People stay in places they've outgrown, stay in roles that no longer challenge them, stay in environments that treat them like background noise, all because the unknown feels too wild, too unpredictable. They don't realize the unknown is where their real growth has been hiding all along. You can see it in their eyes when they talk about their work. The spark fades, the curiosity disappears, the excitement dies. But they keep showing up because they've convinced themselves that this is what being responsible looks like. They don't want to start over. They don't want to risk failing. They don't want to feel lost. So they settle. They settle for the job that barely pays them what they're worth. They settle for a boss who doesn't see them. They settle for tasks that don't ignite them in the slightest. And they call it stability. They call it practical. But deep down, there's a whisper telling them it's not where they belong. Life has a strange way of increasing the volume of that whisper. It starts subtly, a little dissatisfaction here, a little boredom there, a nagging sense that nothing is moving. And when people ignore it, life pushes harder. The workplace becomes unbearable. The opportunities dry up. The energy drains faster. It feels like everything is falling apart. But what's really happening is everything is being stripped away so you'll stop pretending you're meant to stay there. Because sometimes the only way to get you to move is to make staying impossible. People misunderstand discomfort. They see it as a sign of failure, as a sign something is wrong. But discomfort is often the first sign of transformation. It's life tapping you on the shoulder, reminding you that you're capable of more than the small space you're trying to squeeze yourself into. And the more you ignore it, the louder it gets. That restless feeling in your chest, that frustration you can't explain, that sudden urge to break free from the routine, that's not impatience. That's your potential, trying to get out. What makes it almost amusing is how people interpret this shift. They think they're losing control, losing direction, losing clarity. But maybe they're exactly where they need to be. Maybe the confusion is the bridge between who they are and who they're meant to become. Maybe the frustration is the fuel that will push them towards something bigger. People don't grow when things are comfortable, predictable, peaceful. They grow when life throws them into a space where they have no choice but to rise. And then there's the moment when life offers the escape, an unexpected opportunity. A message, a conversation, a recommendation, a chance encounter. Something small, random, almost laughable. And suddenly, it doesn't feel like coincidence anymore. It feels like timing. It feels like the universe saying, "You didn't move, so I moved things for you." But here's the trick. Most people ignore that chance because it doesn't look like what they imagined. It comes disguised, humble, strange. It doesn't match their expectations, so they dismiss it. They miss the door that was cracked open just for them. But the world doesn't run out of opportunities. It simply waits for you to stop holding on to what no longer fits. The moment you loosen your grip, even a little, life rushes in with something new, something better, something aligned. People think the next job will come from a job board, a resume, an application. Sometimes it does. But often, it comes from chaos, from endings, from discomfort, from a place you never planned to look. Because the universe loves rearranging your life in ways that force you into the position you were always meant for. People rarely realize they've outgrown a place until they leave it. Only then do they feel the air return to their lungs. Only then do they recognize how small they were becoming. Only then do they understand that the discomfort wasn't punishment, it was direction. And leaving that old space, stepping into something unknown, unpredictable, unfamiliar, that's where they rediscover the version of themselves they abandoned long ago. Maybe the next job isn't just a step forward. Maybe it's the escape route life has been trying to hand you while you kept pretending you were comfortable in a place that never deserved you in the first place. People are always in such a hurry to label their experiences as good or bad, lucky or unlucky, progress or failure. They rush to judge every moment before it has time to reveal what it's actually doing for them. They see a delay and call it rejection. They see silence and call it abandonment. They see an unexpected shift and call it misfortune. They never stop to consider that maybe life is rearranging things behind the scenes in ways they can't understand yet. They don't realize that the timing they're so frustrated with might be the very thing protecting them, positioning them, preparing them for something far bigger than what they're begging for. It's interesting how people treat time like an enemy. They feel behind, cheated, forgotten. They think everyone else is ahead, everyone else is winning, everyone else is moving while they're stuck in the same place. They don't realize that everyone's life moves on a different clock, and some clocks are designed to explode into success all at once. But they stare at the hands on their own clock, panicking because it doesn't move the way they want it to. They don't know that certain doors only open at very specific moments. Not earlier, not later. And if they had forced their way through too soon, they would have collapsed under the weight of what they weren't ready to carry. That's the part that makes it almost funny how people think they're ready long before they actually are. They think they can handle the dream, the responsibility, the opportunity, just because they want it. But wanting something doesn't mean you're prepared for it. Life sees the blind spots you ignore. It sees the habits you haven't broken yet, the confidence you haven't built, the skills you haven't sharpened. And instead of handing you the big moment too early and watching you crumble, it puts you through pressure, silence, waiting, discomfort. Because pressure builds capacity, silence sharpens intuition, waiting strengthens character, and discomfort breaks complacency. People complain about the storm without noticing what it's strengthening inside them. They curse the delays without realizing those delays are shaping them into someone who can walk into a bigger space without shrinking. They think the job they didn't get was a failure, but maybe it was a shield. They think the opportunity that slipped away was punishment, but maybe it was redirection. They think the slow season means they're being ignored, but maybe it means they're being refined. There's always a purpose hiding beneath the timing people fight against. What they forget is how quickly everything can change when the time is right. One phone call, one message, one unexpected introduction, one chance meeting in a place they didn't even want to go. Life doesn't need years to shift. It needs one moment. And that moment usually arrives after a long stretch of waiting that felt pointless. It's usually after the frustration peaks, after the doubt creeps in, after they start questioning whether anything is moving at all. That's when life likes to twist the scene. Just when they think nothing is happening, everything is happening at once behind the curtain. The next job, the next opportunity, the next breakthrough, it might come faster than they ever imagined, but it won't come a second before they're ready. And that readiness isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about finally growing into the version of themselves capable of sustaining what they've been praying for. Life never withholds without purpose. It synchronizes. It prepares. It ensures that when the opportunity arrives, you won't sabotage it with old fears, old habits, old insecurities. You'll step into it with clarity you didn't have months ago, courage you didn't have years ago, and strength you didn't even know you were building. People like to say timing is everything, but they don't actually trust it. They fight it, question it, resent it. But timing is the quiet architect behind every major turning point in their lives. It decides when to close doors, when to open new ones, when to shake the floor beneath them, when to hold them still until they finally learn what they need to learn. And the moment they're aligned, the moment their character catches up with their ambition, the moment their growth matches the opportunity, that's when everything snaps into place. Maybe the waiting isn't wasting. Maybe the silence isn't empty. Maybe the timing that frustrates them is the exact timing that's going to elevate them into a job they never even imagined would be theirs. People chase certainty like it's oxygen. They want to know exactly what's coming, exactly where they're going, exactly how everything will unfold. They grip the illusion of control so tightly that they don't notice how much possibility slips right through their fingers. Because while they're busy trying to predict every step, life is whispering something entirely different. Times be open, asterisk, be open to the unexpected, the unusual, the unplanned, the unfamiliar. But people don't like unfamiliar. It makes them nervous. It makes them question themselves. It makes them feel like they're walking on a tightrope without a safety net. And yet, that's exactly where life hides its most brilliant surprises. People are so quick to assume they know what's best for them. They create these strict little maps in their heads, this job, this field, this role, this city, and they follow it like a rule book. But life doesn't follow their rule book. It doesn't obey their expectations. It doesn't care about the narrow little path they've drawn for themselves. It loves to nudge them off that path, push them sideways, drop them into situations that look nothing like the plan. And at first, they panic. They resist. They cling to the familiar because the familiar feels safe, even when it's boring them to death. But the unfamiliar, that's where everything shifts. That's where they meet people they never imagined meeting, where they discover skills they never knew they had, where they stumble into opportunities that look strange at first glance, but end up fitting them better than anything they'd planned. The world is too big to fit inside their expectations, too unpredictable, too wild, too clever. And when it wants to give them something extraordinary, it rarely comes wrapped in a package they recognize. What's amusing is how people walk right past opportunities because they don't look the way they imagined. They dismiss something new because it feels uncomfortable. They ignore a possibility because it doesn't match the picture in their head. They say no to things that could transform their entire life simply because the transformation doesn't look familiar. They don't realize that the unfamiliar is supposed to feel strange. That's the sign it's new. That's the sign it's growth. That's the sign it's leading somewhere different from where they've already been. Life loves to introduce opportunities through the back door. A random conversation with a stranger, a chance meeting, a message from someone they haven't thought about in years, a job offer from a place they didn't expect, a skill they learned for fun suddenly becoming their new career. They call it coincidence. Life calls it alignment. Life calls it timing. Life calls it redirection. But because it doesn't match their well-polished plan, they hesitate, they question, they doubt, they think something this unexpected couldn't possibly be for them. What they don't see is that the unfamiliar is often a doorway disguised as discomfort. The uneasiness they feel isn't danger, it's expansion. It's the feeling of stepping into a space bigger than the one they've been limiting themselves to. They think they're not ready, not qualified, not the right fit. But the truth is, the unfamiliar invites them to become more than they are right now. It stretches them, sharpens them, awakens parts of them that routine has been smothering for years. People forget how adaptable they are, how quickly they can learn when the situation demands it, how capable they become when they step into something that challenges them. They underestimate their resilience, their intelligence, their instincts. And because of that, they underestimate the opportunities life sends them. They assume it's safer to stick to what they know, but what they know is often the very thing keeping them small. The unfamiliar is not the enemy. It's the invitation. And here's the interesting part. People don't discover who they are by repeating what they already know. They discover who they are by stepping into something new, by taking risks, by trying something that scares them, by letting themselves explore paths that don't look anything like the future they once imagined. And sometimes the next job isn't familiar at all. Sometimes it's in a field they never considered, a skill they never valued, a place they never looked. Sometimes it's so unexpected it almost feels like a joke. But life has a sense of humor like that. Maybe the next opportunity won't look like anything you planned. Maybe it'll surprise you, confuse you, challenge you, pull you somewhere unfamiliar. And maybe that unfamiliar place is exactly where you were always meant to rise.